There's a fever in Fort Benton, Montana Territory. To say that it was unusual is putting it mildly.
Frontier Gentlemen. Herewith an Englishman's account of life and death in the West. As a reporter for the London Times, he writes his colorful and unusual stories. But as a man with a gun, he lives and becomes a part of the violent years in the new territories. Now, starring John Dehner, this is the story of J.B. Kendall, Frontier Gentleman.
Nothing had changed in Fort Benton since I'd left it 5 weeks earlier, except perhaps for one thing. It was spring now. You could feel it in the streets, smell it in the sun-warm air. I walked up to the little building that housed the Fort Benton Dispatch, a newspaper run by John Warren, whom I had met during my last visit. Outside, a group of men were standing about, peering through the windows. I thought that they looked at me rather strangely when I went inside, and it only took a moment to see why. The newspaper editor, Mr. Warren, sat pale-faced, looking at a rather fierce individual who stood a few feet away from him, wearing 2 pistols and cradling a shotgun in his arms.
Mr. Kendall.
Well, how are you, Mr. Warren? Am I interrupting?
No, sit down. This is George McCune, J.B. Kendall.
Howdy.
Mr. McCune?
That's right. What are you, deputy or something?
No.
Mr. Kendall's a newspaper man, writes for the London Times.
Oh, is that right? Huh. Well, what do you say, Warren?
Well, it's the way I told you. I'm not a lawyer. I might do you more harm than good.
You gonna be like them others, huh?
It's not that, but Clint Wallace is a smart man. He knows the law.
That there Wallace is a no-good son of a gun. If he tries any of them smart lawyer tricks on me, I'm going to salivate him right through his fat gizzard.
Wallace is prosecuting McCune for the murder of Jack Furlong.
I see.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something right here now. I didn't shoot that lily-livered cutback of a ruptured hog nohow. Not that I ain't saying whoever done oughtn't to get a medal.
I'm inclined to believe him, Kendall. The trouble is, there's not a lawyer in town to take his case.
Now, I'm willing to face up to what them Furlong says I done if I get a fair trial. But I've seen what that outlawyer Wallace can do with his fancy twisting words. He got me hung right now.
Do you mind my asking, haven't you been arrested?
Well, sure, I've been arrested. How come you think I'm still in Benton?
I mean, isn't it usual for a suspect to be in jail?
Look, there ain't nobody gonna put me in the calaboose, especially for something I ain't done, not nohow. Ain't a man in Benton big enough to try it.
Why do they suspect you?
Why? Well, I'll tell you why. 'Cause that eyeballer Buck Furlong, him and that cow critter wife of his, they got it in for me ever since I whooped Buck's brother Jack in a poker game. That's why. I cleaned him out. And he swore he'd get even with me. The whole blame family's been going around Benton saying I gouged Jack in the game. Me gouge you? I ain't never cheated in cards all my born days.
Well, do they have any proof? I mean, that it was you?
They ain't got nothing.
There's a mule skinner in town, Ike Dawlish. He says he saw McCune arguing with Jack Furlong a few minutes before the shooting.
That feller Dawlish, he herded one band of sheep too many. You know, that feller's plumb loco. Everybody around here knows that, except they take his word 'cause they got it in for me. Shucks, I was up the other end of town sleeping off a belly full of popskull when it happened.
Anybody see you?
Well, if they did, they ain't coming up to say so.
When did it happen, the shooting?
Well, it was about 2 nights back. First I heard of it was the next morning. That Marshal O'Connor, he come up to me, he says, "McCune, I got to arrest you for the murder of Jack Furlong." Well, sir, I says to him, "Marshal, I hear tell you like to talk a windy. Don't you try it on me this morning, 'cause I got a head on me that's giving me the orks. Well, sir, he comes back at me and he says, "I ain't lying, McCune. You've been identified as a murderer. You'll have to come down to jail with me." And I says, "You must be seeing black, O'Connor. If you think I'm going to do any such thing and you try and draw on me, I'll be happy to swap shots with you. But I ain't going to pull freight out of here if that's what's worrying you." I'm an innocent man, and you're going to have to prove me otherwise.
The trouble is, like I keep telling you, McCune, you're the one who's going to have to prove otherwise. They've got the witness.
Oh.
Well, why can't you get a lawyer to defend you, Mr. McCune?
Well, sure, now I'll tell you why. Because that there Buck Furlong's wife, Maggie, is Barry's daughter, that's why. And Dad Barry's the justice of the peace, and there ain't no lawyer with stuffings enough to stand up again that old whistling britches.
That does make it rather awkward.
You know something? It ain't right nor fitting in these times that a man can be telling the truth and no one believe him. Now, look, Warren, you ain't afeard of that Dad Barry, are you?
You know I'm not.
Well, then I'll pay you 100 in silver if you talk for me.
I'd like to, McCune, but...
All right. You don't have to say no more. I'm walking me up to the trial house, and I'm going in and let them say what they want, and then I'm walking out, and the first man tries to stop me is going to get lead poison. Well, what do you want, O'Connor?
George McCune is marshal of this here town, and authority vested in me.
O'Connor, come on, talk horse. What you want?
I gotta take you down for the trial, McCune. I'm asking you polite-like to give up your guns.
I'm going to go with you, O'Connor, because you got a duty. But if you think I'm giving up my sixers to this here goose gun, you don't know no more than a mule-eared rabbit. Now, let's rattle Hawks out of here.
Whew. You know, I feel sorry for him, but I'm glad to see him out of here. He's been with me for better than 2 hours, Kendall.
Yes, I can see where he could be quite persuasive.
You know, I wasn't kidding. If I'd have thought I could help him, I would. But I'm no good at public speaking and never was. Break out all of a sweat. He'll do better alone.
Who is he?
Well, McCune, he used to be an Indian scout with Crook. Hadn't been able to forget his ways. He's a tough man and likes folks to know it. That's why even if he didn't kill Furlong, most everybody figures he did, the jury will, too.
You don't think so?
No, he wouldn't have stayed around for the trial if he had. Besides, he wouldn't have killed a man like Jack Furlong. He'd have got more fun out of stomping his head in. I knew Furlong, he was a scroungy little toad, always fooling around with women. Somebody else's if he could.
What'll happen if the jury finds McCune guilty?
I don't know. There'll be trouble, though.
It seems a bit unfair, doesn't it?
Well, sure it is. But what are you going to do?
You know, as an outsider, I might be able to defend McCune.
You know anything about the law?
Well, I know some pretty important words. That might help. And I have a feeling that McCune's telling the truth.
I don't know about old Dad Barry, though. If he doesn't admit you to court, there's nothing you can do.
I think he will. Let's go and talk to McCune. When we arrived at the saloon, it was already half full. The accused man was sitting in a small storeroom drinking a glass of beer, his guns still very much in evidence. Marshal O'Connor stood in the entranceway trying to appear as though he were guarding his prisoner, although he seemed extremely nervous and was obviously unhappy with his job. He didn't want us to talk to McCune.
I'm sorry, Mr. Warren. I can't let either of you gentlemen in to see him.
We're his legal counsel, O'Connor.
O'Connor, you let him pass by or I'm going to come out.
You said you ain't got no lawyer, McCune.
He's got one now.
Don't give me no trouble, O'Connor. I ain't in the mood. All right, close the door, O'Connor. Well, I see you changed your mind, Warren. I'm real grateful to you.
It's not me, McCune. It's Mr. Kendall. He's going to talk for you.
How come?
I heard what you had to say. I think there's a good chance you're innocent.
Are you a lawyer?
No, but I know something about law. Probably as much as Mr. Warren.
Uh-huh. How much you figure on getting paid?
Well, if we win, what you would have paid Warren. If we lose, no, it won't matter.
Yeah. All right, you got yourself a deal. But I want to tell you something, Kendall. If they call me guilty, you better duck, because it's going to be the ding-dangest shoot-up you ever saw in Benton.
In a moment, we return to Frontier Gentlemen. A diller, a dollar. Here's a real chiller diller for the mystery scholar. Follow yours truly, Johnny Dollar, later today on CBS Radio. There's action-packed drama as Johnny Dollar a suave insurance investigator, covers the globe with his expense account to track down frauds and schemers. Every Sunday, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, meets mystery, romance, thrills, and mayhem. So be sure you meet up with Johnny Dollar on most of these same stations for high-keyed excitement right here on CBS Radio. Now we return you to the Anthony Ellis production of Frontier Gentlemen.
At 1 o'clock, the saloon courtroom was full. The judicial bench was the counter, and whiskey barrels set up on end in front of it served as the legal bar. 12 good men and true sat at tables placed to the side in a row. They were highly conscious of their importance to the community, and only 4 were taking advantage of the convenience of whiskey close at hand. Windows and doors stood open for the comfort of those inside who might feel the spring warmth, and for the accommodation of those crowded outside, unable to obtain even standing room. At 1 o'clock, court was called to order, the clerk hammering on the bar with the butt of his pistol.
This here court's going to have some order. Order! We got a case coming up in this here courtroom on account of George McCune bushwhacked Jack Furlong, and he's going to get tried for it. Now, everybody get up in the cloud knockers, because here's his honor, Dad Bearer, who is the judge of this here murder. Get up.
All right, everybody set. Court's in session, and I aim to state this ain't going to be no box social, so don't nobody forget it. Clint Wallace.
Right here, Your Honor.
You ready to prosecute?
I'm ready, Your Honor.
How about the defense?
The defense is ready.
Who are you?
J.B. Kendall. I've been retained as barrister to plead the case for my client, George McCune.
You one of them traveling lawyers?
No, sir.
You got papers allowing you to talk in the territory of Montana?
No, sir.
Then sit down.
Well, I submit, Your Honor, that Mr. McCune has a right to be heard, and is within those rights to call whomsoever he chooses to speak for him. He has chosen me. A prima facie rule of law. Phipps versus Mahoney, Newgate, 1803.
What's he talking about, Slauson?
Well, it sounds like law talk to me, Your Honor.
Give me that legal book. Let's see here. Well, I ain't going to hold up this trial whittle-whanging with you, mister. Ipso facto. So don't go trying any jackleg stuff with me, or by ziggity, I'll fine you for contempt of this here judicial court. You savvy? Bring in the prisoner.
Bring in George McCune.
Ain't nobody bringing me in. I'll bring him my own self.
Marshal, this hombre's on trial for murder. What's he doing with them shooting irons and the shotgun? McCune, you better give me them guns.
I ain't giving you nothing.
Marshal, hear what I say? Take them weapons off and him.
Hey, Your Honor, now I got a big respect for things legal. That's how come I'm here. But if anybody tries to take my sixes, there's going to be a mess of trouble. These here weapons is to protect myself.
Marshal, I'm telling you.
Dad, you want them guns, you go get them yourself.
I object.
What are you objecting about, Clint? Ain't your court. I'll get on with the trial.
Gentlemen of the jury, we're going to prove that George McCune did, with malice and plain ornery cussedness, killed poor old Jack Furlong on Thursday last at 9:30 o'clock.
The way she's carrying on, you'd think she was married to Jack instead of Buck.
We will prove that the killer McCune did take...
Objection!
What's the objection, mister?
The learned counsel refers to my client as a killer. This has yet to be proved in trial.
Ain't no call to object. Go ahead, Clint.
The killer, McCune, did take a .45 and blew 2 holes in said deceased Jack Furlong. It killed him. We got witnesses to say how it happened. That's all, Your Honor.
All right. Hey, you. What's your name?
Kendall.
Yeah. Well, go on and make your speech.
Thank you, Your Honor. Gentlemen of the jury, I shall not take up your time with a verbose statement. I will only say that when the trial is at an end, you, the peers of George McCune, will send him from this courtroom a free man, exonerated of any complicity in this crime.
Clint, call the first witness.
I call Buck Furlong, the dead man's poor brother, to the stand.
Now, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you?
Sure.
Well, tell what your name is, Buck.
Shucks, you know my name, Slauson.
Now, Buck, this here's a court of law. We got to do things right. State your name.
Buck Furlong.
Now, Mr. Furlong, I'd be obliged if you'd tell the court just what happened on Thursday night.
Sure, Clint. Like everybody knows, that no account McCune shot my brother Jack.
I object.
You shut up, mister. It ain't your turn yet. Go ahead, Buck.
Jack said he was coming down here to your place, Dad, for a shot of whiskey. And that sidewinder McCune dry dog.
Listen, you flea-bit mule hip son of a gun! Order!
McCune, I'm fining you $20 for pulling the gun in this here court. That is contempt.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Go on.
Mr. Furlong, you say that McCune killed your brother?
He sure did.
How do you know that?
Everybody knows it.
I didn't ask that. How do you know?
Because he's the only one could have done. Ike Dawlish seen him do it.
And Mr. Dawlish told you?
Well, sure. Ain't that right, Dad?
That's right, Buck. Told me, too.
You had no other proof?
I didn't need none.
That's all, Mr. Furlong. Thank you.
Next witness.
There were 10 more witnesses after that, all proclaiming Jack Furlong's good name and damning McCune's. The trial was momentarily interrupted when 2 deer were spotted frolicking in a meadow 100 yards from the courtroom. There was a wild dash to the windows in order to obtain a better view. When order was restored, one of the prosecution's most important witnesses was called, Mrs. Buck Furlong.
Now, Maggie, there ain't a soul here don't understand how you felt about your brother-in-law.
It's the truth, the holy truth.
Sure. Now, you tell the court what you know about the murder.
Well, that highbinder McCune, it wasn't enough he cheated our poor Jack out of his money, which everyone in Benton knows. He hated him because his conscience wouldn't let him sleep, haunted him like. So what I figure is when poor Jack went down to get himself a drop of whiskey for his poor tooth, which was ailing him something terrible, he run into McCune, and him being a drunken skunk, McCune couldn't stand to face up to him, so he shot him up. That's how it happened, Pa, Your Honor. You just ask Ike Dawlish, he'll tell you. Poor Jack, dead. Poor honey.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Mrs. Furlong.
And you, mister, you ought to be ashamed defending a suck-egg coyote like that.
Ain't nobody, man nor woman, called me.
I say order. McCune, pulling your gun again. That's contempt. Court fines you $20.
Now, Your Honor, I feel that my client is showing admirable control under the circumstances.
You got more questions to ask, mister?
Mrs. Furlong, you were very fond of your brother-in-law, were you not?
A sweet honey boy he was.
Yes, I am sure this must be very painful. But aside from what you were told, you have absolutely no proof that George McCune shot Jack Furlong.
Oh, look at him! Look at him sitting there, still carrying the very gun that he murdered with. Look at him!
Thank you very much, Mrs. Furlong. That's all.
Order! 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 Well, sir, don't seem to me like there's much sense going on with this here trial. From what I've heard, McCune's as good as hung right now.
Oh, Your Honor.
You objecting again, mister?
Well, the prosecution hasn't called the eyewitness.
Oh, that's a waste of time, you ask me. All right, Clint, call your next witness.
I call Ike Dawlish, the man who saw the killing done.
Now, you swear to tell the whole truth, Dawlish?
Yes, sir, I surely do swear.
Your name is Ike Dawlish?
Oh, yes.
Where was you on Thursday night at 9:30?
Why, like I told you, Mr. Wallace, I was coming along the street outside this saloon, and when I got to the corner, there was George McCune a-shooting up poor old Jack Furlong. Then he turns and sees me and takes off out of there like a snake-eyed swishtail. I walk over to Jack, and he's lying there feeling mighty poorly-ish. And I come in here and tell old Dad Barry, and he goes out and sees what happened. That's all.
And you swear it was George McCune done the shooting?
Oh, I swear, I surely swear.
He's plumb loco.
Shut your mouth, McCune, or I'll fine you for contempt.
I'm all through, Your Honor.
You got any questions, Kendall?
Yes, a few. Now, what time was it when you saw the shooting, Mr. Dawlish?
9:30 o'clock.
It was dark.
Surely was.
How close were you to McCune?
Well, fairish way, maybe to where Mr. Wallace is sitting.
20 feet, and you recognized McCune in the dark from 20 feet away.
Oh, not in the dark, when he come out in the light.
Ah, in the light, and you had a good look at his face?
Good enough.
You saw his face?
Well, kinda. But I seen McCune around. I know what he looks like without seeing his whole face.
How was he dressed?
Like he is now. I got a good memory. Them same gray pants.
What's that?
Go on. Gray pants?
Kind of a black jacket and gray shirt. Black Stetson, too, like in his hand.
Exactly the same clothes as he wore the night before last, eh?
The same.
McCune, will you describe for Mr. Dawlish what you are wearing?
I got on black pants, blue jacket, blue shirt, gray Stetson. Same as I always wear.
Mr. Dawlish, what is the color of my jacket?
Gray.
You are colorblind, my friend. I don't think you saw Mr. McCune at all. I think you either saw someone else, or perhaps you shot Jack Furlong yourself and blamed it on McCune.
I'm getting out of here.
How did you know, Kendall?
I didn't. Not until Dawlish made that slip about color. The rest was luck.
You know, I feel kind of sorry for little Runt, even if he did blame it on me.
Has he said why he did it?
Oh, well, it seems Jack Furlong was rather romantically inclined toward Dawlish's wife. He knew Mr. McCune would be the easiest person to blame for the shooting, and, well, that was that.
Hey, not that it makes no never mind, but listen to that Maggie Furlong, you figure maybe she and Jack was, romantically inclined?
I figure that Jack Furlong had a very bad case of spring fever. It killed him.
Frontier Gentlemen was written, produced, and directed by Anthony Ellis and stars John Dehner as J.B. Kendall. Featured in the cast were Jack Crucian, Harry Bartell, Joe Kearns, Will Wright, Jack Moyles, Jeanette Nolan, Vic Perrin, and Stacey Harris. Music was composed and conducted by Amerigo Marino. Now stay tuned for the Ford Road Show, to be followed by the CBS News over most of these same stations. Join us again next week for another report from the Frontier Gentlemen. John Wall speaking. This is the CBS Radio Network.
In a card game, aces and eights are known throughout the West as a dead man's hand. There's a good reason for it, and this is the story of how the hand got its name.
Frontier Gentlemen. an Englishman's account of life and death in the West. As a reporter for the London Times, he writes his colorful and unusual stories. But as a man with a gun, he lives and becomes a part of the violent years in the new territories. In just 1 minute, we'll bring you this latest report from the Frontier Gentleman. This is James Matthews with official results on the automobile competition the whole industry watches every year, the famous Mobile Gas Economy Run. This year's run, 1,883 miles from Los Angeles to Galveston, Texas, ranging from sea level through mountain passes. And once again, Chrysler Corporation cars took the lion's share of firsts. Plymouth, Chrysler, and Imperial again this year for the second straight year, winning first place over all other cars in their class in the famous economy run. Imperial, by the way, was sweepstakes winner, too, getting 62.7188 ton-miles per gallon. The forward look is a lot more than look. You get a better engine, brawnier brakes, torsionaire ride at no extra cost, and winning performance and economy in cars of the forward look from Chrysler Corporation. Take a drive this week in a car of the forward look. Plymouth, Dodge, DeSoto, Chrysler, or the triumphant Imperial. Drive one of America's performance winners from Chrysler Corporation. Now starring John Dehner, this is the story of J.B. Kendall, Frontier Gentleman.
I left Fort Benton, Montana Territory, in a little river steamer called the Pride of the West. The journey downstream on the Missouri was a good deal faster than that which I had made coming up from St. Louis just a few months earlier. I decided to write some articles for the London Times on river travel in the American West. But the balmy weather, coupled with a feeling of complete indolence, made me put off all thought of work. Several days passed, and then we docked at Fort Pierre in Dakota Territory. I went ashore to purchase a new pair of boots, and it was in the store of an outfitter named Judd Scott that I first heard the name of Deadwood. Well, the left one might be a bit tight. Yes, right here, in the heel.
Oh, she'll ease up, mister. Of course, I don't do much trade in ready-mades. If you had more time, I'd make you a real fine pair. Finest in Dakota Territory. Here, let me take it off. I'll try to work it out. So you're a newspaper correspondent, huh? Well, we've had 'em come through, but none from England. Must be pretty interesting, your line of work.
Yes, it is. Quite.
Yeah, too bad you ain't staying around these parts. Your folks back home would get a pleasure out of reading about things we got around here.
You mean in Fort Pierre?
Well, there ain't too much going on here. I guess you could write about Jack McCall, though. Try it on now. It should be better.
Now, Jack McCall, huh?
Used to drive a stage between here and Deadwood. Got some tall yarns to spin about Indians and the like. Go ahead. Take a walk now.
Yes, I'd like to meet him.
He's back in Deadwood now. How's that? That better?
Yes, fine. Where is Deadwood?
You mean you ain't heard of it? Oh, worst bunch of cutthroats and outlaws living in all the territories and the United States is in Deadwood. They even got Wild Bill Hickok out there. I hear tell there's folks wanting to put him up for marshal.
Hickok? Yes, I've heard of him.
Yeah, it won't take Wild Bill long to clean up, I can tell you.
Deadwood, huh?
Oh, you taking the boots?
I'm taking them. I sold the remainder of my ticket to a man booking passage for St. Louis, and the next day took the stage from Fort Pierre to Deadwood in the Black Hills of Dakota Territory. At the stagecoach station in Deadwood, I inquired after Jack McCall and was directed to Carl Mann's saloon. Even though it was Sunday, I was surprised to see that the place was practically empty. A hatchet-faced woman dressed in black was drinking alone at the bar, and I found McCall, a broken-nosed, sullen-looking man, sitting at a table playing a game of solitaire.
Yeah, it's me. Who's asking to know?
J.B. Kendall.
What's your business, J.B. Kendall?
Well, a gentleman in Fort Pierre mentioned your name. He runs the general store.
Judd Scott?
Yes, that's right.
How come you want to talk with me?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm a newspaper correspondent, and I thought there might be a story to write about Deadwood, and your friend suggested that I get in touch with you.
What kind of story are you thinking about?
I understand that Wild Bill Hickok is in town. Do you know him?
Mm-hmm. Why don't you ask her? Or at the bar. Calamity Jane. Figures she knows him better than most.
Oh, well, thank you, I will. Perhaps I can buy you a drink after?
Suit yourself. I ain't going nowhere.
Miss Jane?
You talking to me? The name's Calamity. Ain't no miss in it. Calamity Jane.
I'm sorry. I'm J.B. Kendall. The gentleman over there mentioned that you were a good friend of Wild Bill Hickok.
Who? Why, that ain't no gentleman. That's a stinking pig by the name of Jack McCall. You been sitting with him. Don't foul up the air around me. Hit the trail, mister.
Yeah, well, I was hoping you could introduce me to Mr. Hickok.
Hey, you English?
Yes.
Thought so. Knew an English feller down in Abilene. Wouldn't quit riding herd on me. Had to shoot him.
Oh.
New in town, ain't you?
Just arrived.
You ain't friend of McCall?
Oh, only met him a few minutes ago.
What brings you?
I am a writer, newspaper articles for the London Times.
Hey, I guess you heard about me and Wild Bill, huh?
Oh, yes.
Fastest man with a gun you'll ever see. I ain't too bad myself, but I ain't nothing to Wild Bill. Come on over to the table, bring the bottle, and I'll tell you about me and Wild Bill.
Calamity Jane was a strange, almost masculine-looking woman, hard and rough-voiced. She told me of her exploits as a scout with General Crook's army in the war against the Sioux, but most of the time she spoke of Hickok. About a half an hour had passed when I noticed Jack McCall get up from his table and come toward us.
Yes, sir. What Wild Bill done in Abilene, there ain't another man could have handled. Why,
Hey, mister, I thought you was going to buy me a drink.
Oh, not just now, Mr. McCall. I'm talking to the lady.
Oh, yeah, I see. It's mostly listening. Ain't nobody gets to talk much around her.
McCall, you want me to put your eyeballs out with this bottle. You open that barn door of yours just once more.
Kendall, you come on down to Boot Hill Saloon when you're through. I'll tell you the truth about that female polecat there in a windy frame.
One of these days, me or Wild Bill's gonna pump that coyote full of lead. Except he ain't worth wasting a ball on.
And all I know about him is that he used to drive the stage between here and Fort Pierre.
Yeah, lost that job because he couldn't hold his liquor. Used to be a buffalo hunter till the feller he worked for caught him stealing hides. He ain't no good, that one, and his pals is worse. You ever run into Tim Brady or Johnny Varnes, you watch your step, mister. Them's two of the boys, along with McCall, that Wild Bill's gonna run out of this town when he gets to be marshal.
Where is Wild Bill now?
He's up in the hills working on his claim. Him and his partner, Colorado Charlie. They ought to be back by tomorrow. He'd like to meet you, mister. Wild Bill always had a liking for you newspaper fellers. Well, what's your hurry? Sit down. We'll split another bottle.
Thank you, but I think I'd better get settled. Wash some of this Dakota dust off me.
What a dude. All right, go on up the hotel. Tell him Calamity Jane sent you, and if they don't give you the best room, I'll shoot up the place.
The recommendation was most effective. I got the best room in the hotel. 2 hours later, in spite of Calamity Jane's warning, I wandered down to the Boot Hill Saloon. I was curious about McCall and what he might have to say about Calamity and Wild Bill Hickok. I found him there, very drunk, He was talking to a heavy-set man who was chewing on an unlit cigar. McCall greeted me as an old friend.
Hey, what do you say, Kendall? You had enough of that female windbag, huh? Hey, Tim, this is the fellow I was telling you about. Kendall's his name. Kendall. Hi.
How are you? Tim Brady.
I owe Mr. McCall a drink. I came down to settle my
Well,
debt.
that's real fine of you, Kendall. Oh, Jim Kendall's coming to Deadwood to write a story about Wild Bill Hickok, the new marshal of Deadwood.
You go get yourself a drink, McCall.
Sure, Tim. Sure.
Take a chair, Kendall.
Marshal of Deadwood.
I wouldn't pay no heed to what McCall says. Not when he gets too much whiskey in him.
Did he say something?
About Hickok being marshal.
Oh, well, it's not particularly news. I heard that in Fort Pierre 5 days ago.
Well, don't you believe it?
Oh?
Fellers around here, they don't want his kind. You go writing in your paper a thing like that, you're going to have to turn right around and write that it ain't true.
He's not going to get the job?
No. I tell you, he does a lot of ear greasing, like that crow-bait mare, Calamity Jane. But all them things you hear is just a lot of brag. Hickok never plugged a man unless the feller's back was turned. I was down to Abilene when he dry gulched Phil Cole. It was the worst thing you ever seen. Shot him in the back. Then by mistake, he goes and kills his own pal, Mike Williams. No, sir. Deadwood ain't gonna put up a man like that for marshal. You think so?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose it depends on how many want him.
Oh, well, there's a lot of them miners up to the hill. They're the ones. Figure he's a real big man. Heard all them crazy stories about it. You want to know what I think?
I'd be very interested.
I don't think he'd last 2 minutes as marshal before somebody shot the daylights out of him. Yes, your best thing for Hickok to do is get out of Deadwood and stay out. You see him, you tell him that.
The next night, Calamity Jane introduced me to Wild Bill Hickok. He looked older, more tired than I'd imagined him. As we sat in his room, I noticed that he blinked his eyes, rubbed them, and seemed quite nervous, constantly glanced toward the door. Calamity had gone out to buy some food.
Me and Colorado Charlie had a rough week up in the hills. Feels kind of good to get back. You ever done any mining, Kendall?
No.
Well, have you ever had the idea to get somebody else to do the work for you? Well, what do you think of Deadwood?
Oh, I haven't been here very long.
Ain't much like London, I'll bet.
No, it isn't.
Well, do a little cleaning up like I did in Hayes City and Abilene. We'll have a right nice little town.
When do you expect to begin as marshal?
Any day now, the boys are getting things moving.
I saw a man yesterday, Tim Brady.
Brady?
And he asked me to give you a message.
Huh?
The best thing for Hickok to do is to get out of Deadwood and stay out.
Well, that's what he said, huh?
Yes.
You know why? They're afraid of me. They know what's going to happen after I get sworn in. I run them out, and if they don't run, we have a showdown. Brady and his pal Varnes ain't got stomach for that.
I gather they're the somewhat unsavory element in Deadwood. Is that so?
Mister, you ain't just milking pigeons. Why, them miners up in the hills would be dead ducks for Brady and his gang if it weren't for me. This is the worst mining camp in the territory. Ain't been no law here since it started, and Brady don't want none. That's how come the miners want me for marshal. Protection.
Well, I'm surprised he hasn't tried to get rid of you before this.
That jayhawker knows what had happened to him in a shoot-up. He ain't likely to try nothing. A fellow like that gets somebody else to do his dirty work.
Oh, it's only me, Bill. Put away the gun.
I told you, Charlie, you ought to knock.
Keep forgetting.
This is J.B. Kendall. He's going to write a story about me for an English paper.
Yeah, I run into Calamity down to Carl's place, and she told me. Nice to meet you, Kendall.
And you, sir.
My old pal, Charlie Utter.
Colorado Charlie's good enough.
Kendall's been talking to Brady.
Oh, that's so. Rest your saddle, Bill. You make me tired standing.
Brady said I ought to get out of town.
Oh, he'd like that fine.
Yeah. He'd like that. Well, I guess I'll go and wash up before Calamity gets back. You staying around, Charlie?
Yeah, I thought maybe we'd go down to Carl's later and play some cards.
All right. I'll be right back.
Sure. Got a lot on his mind, has Wild Bill. He ain't usually like this.
He seems to have trouble with his eyes.
Oh, you noticed, huh? I wouldn't want you to say nothing in front of Bill, but he's been scared he's going blind. Yeah, things sure don't seem like the old days. Oh, I gotta get these boots off. My feet's killing me.
How old is he?
Wild Bill? Let me see. 39. Of course, to hear him talk, you'd think he's closer to 60. I sure do fret over him sometimes. Always talking about dying, this and that. Ain't like the old days. He sure was a rip snorter. Oh, well, maybe when he gets to be marshal again, everything will be like it always was.
Calamity Jane came in with the food, and behind her, Bill Hickok. It was a strange supper. Both Colorado Charlie and Calamity kept up a stream of conversation, anecdotes singing the praise of Hickok's past accomplishments, but the atmosphere was strained. The man with the long hair didn't say very much. Afterwards, Charlie Utter invited me to accompany them to the saloon. I noticed that Hickok was reluctant. Possibly he had a feeling, a warning of what was to come. It was 8 o'clock when we arrived at Carl Mann's saloon and sat down at the card table.
Charlie, change seats with me. I ain't sitting with my back to the door.
Wild Bill, you're getting worse than an old woman.
Or maybe so, but that's the way it is. I like to see what's coming in.
Well, here. Take my place if you like.
No, sir. All he wants is a catbird seat. That's how come he's always winning. You ain't moving, Bill.
You got the right idea, Charlie. Wild Bill, you got your seat, and that's the way it's gonna be. Carl! Bring us a bottle of whiskey and a deck of cards. Marshal Hickok's gonna be the big loser tonight.
After a few minutes, we were joined by a miner, and the 5 of us played. It was a friendly game, and we could see Hickok beginning to relax. He was a good player and held more than his share of winning hands. But while the game went on, there was something happening down the street in the Boot Hill saloon. We didn't know it then, but after it was too late, we heard what had taken place. 3 men sat in a back room, one of them drinking heavily. This was Jack McCall. The other 2 were Tim Brady and Johnny Varnes, the leaders of the Toughs in Deadwood.
Well, I'm telling you, Jack, you'll be a big man.
Why, they'll look at you when you walk down the street. They'll say, there goes Jack McCall. He killed Wild Bill Hickok.
You hear what Johnny says?
Yeah, I hear. Give me another drink, Jack.
Well, sure.
He's in Carl's place right now. You could get him easy.
Oh, might not be so easy.
Well, you ain't afraid, are you, Jack?
Oh, I ain't afraid.
No.
Oh, I ain't afraid, but it just won't be so easy.
Of course, we could get somebody else to do it. We just figured, Tim and me, we figured you was the man for the
look,
job.
I ain't saying I won't
you know
do
what
it.
we could do, Johnny?
What?
We could maybe get that newspaper feller, you know, Kendall, to write something about Jack in his paper.
Hmm?
How'd you like to see that, boy, in an English paper? Jack McCall shoots down Wild Bill Hickok. Yeah, you could go on the stage all over with that. Sure.
Yeah.
He's right down the street, Jack.
Yeah,
I seen him
good.
myself. You know what? He's sitting with his back to the door.
Now you listen. Just listen. How come if you was there, you didn't plug him yourself?
Yeah, it ain't no use, Johnny. He don't understand. All right.
No,
Forget it,
wait a
Jack.
minute.
Go
I'm
on,
just
get out
I'm
of
just
it.
asking. That's all. Now just tell me how come.
Because Calamity Jane and Colorado Charlie is with him. If they saw me, they'd know something was wrong. But not you, Jack. They wouldn't figure you drawing on Hickok.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's all I wanted to know was why.
All right. What do you say, Jack?
Sure, why not?
Give
Sure.
him a gun, Johnny. And don't you miss, boy, you hear?
Just look at there.
3 kings.
He's beat
There.
you, Wild Bill.
I mean, son of a gun if he hasn't. I had you pegged for no more than 2 pair.
Kendall ain't the best player I've seen, but he's sure a lucky one. Deal him out, Calamity.
All right.
Knew a feller once in Hayes City drew 2 cards to a royal. Luckiest thing I ever seen.
That's a loco thing for a man to do.
Sure was. He took one look at his hand and keeled over plumb dead.
Oh, you know, I had a hand something like that. I won a Chinese girl with it a few weeks ago in Deer Lodge.
Chinese?
I did.
No kidding.
Sure.
What did you do with her?
Well, I gave her to a man I knew. He married her.
Open for $1.
Wait. Yes, I'm staying.
Stay? Me too.
I ain't proud. There. Cards?
3.
Kendall?
2, please.
Give me 1. Here's a man's gonna drop dead if he pulls it right.
How's about you, Charlie?
2.
Dealer takes 3.
Honest woman.
That's one thing I ain't nor never hope to be. Your bet, Wild Bill.
Well, I'll tell you, friends, I'm going to make this rough on you. $2.
All right. I call.
Not me. And I ain't dropping dead, neither. Well, I'll see you.
I'm a sucker. All right. What do you got, Wild Bill?
Prettiest 2 pair you ever seen. Aces and 8s.
Wild Bill Hickok slumped forward on the table. He still had the winning smile on his face, and the cards crumpled in his tightening fist. It was Calamity Jane who found Jack McCall. He was hiding in a butcher shop nearby. Colorado Charlie and I dragged him away before she had a chance to use the meat cleaver she was holding. We found 6 cartridges in McCall's gun. The only one to fire was the first, the one that killed Hickok. The other 5 were defective. Before I left Deadwood, McCall was tried for murder, but Brady and Barnes must have chosen the jury themselves, because the final verdict was not guilty.
Frontier Gentlemen was written, produced, and directed by Anthony Ellis and stars John Dehner as J.B. Kendall. Featured in the cast were John McIntyre, Jeanette Nolan, Jack Moyles, Larry Dobkin, Stacey Harris, and Vic Perrin. Music was composed and conducted by Amerigo Marino. Join us again next week for another report from the Frontier Gentlemen. James Matthews speaking. This is the CBS Radio Network.